Silent battlefields, where historic photos whisper the untold stories of war and human memory. Amid the bustle of a French port, soldiers of the Auxiliary Military Pioneer Corps are busy unloading cargo from a ship that has just docked. Sweat and coal dust mingle with their sweat, but their eyes shine with pride as they contribute to the front line. Formed in 1939 and renamed a year later, the force undertakes light but vital engineering tasks. They are the silent warriors who keep the British war machine running. Around 1942, amid the white clouds, a squadron of B-17G Flying Fortresses of the United States Air Force quietly entered German airspace. The giant machines glided in tight formation, the sun reflecting off their cold metal shells. Inside, the pilots were highly concentrated, aiming for Emden, the industrial heart of Nazi Germany. Each flight was a gamble between life and death, but also a symbol of the courage and unyielding determination of an entire generation. This moment was like a living symbol of the team spirit and bravery of World War II. The soldiers on the ground lined up neatly beside their bicycles, raising their hands in farewell as the Boeing B-17 Flying Fortress roared into the sky. They knew that each flight carried with it hope and immeasurable danger. The sound of the engines and the cheers became a farewell song, marking a time when courage was the only thing stronger than fear. Amidst the rubble and cracked walls, a birthday party was held with loud laughter. It was the birthday of Christine Pierce, a little girl in Hammersmith, London, on July 17, 1944. Her house had been destroyed by a V-1 bomb just 3 weeks earlier, but her family and neighbors gathered around a simple wooden table. In the devastated scene, they raised their glasses, shared smiles and hopes, a testament to the indomitable spirit of Londoners during the war. Amid the tense battlefield scene in Normandy in June 1944, a group of British soldiers still found a rare moment of simple joy. Sergeant Andrew Alexander Dalzell and Corporal Day stood in front of a makeshift betting board where 3 10th Corps soldiers were excitedly betting on the Derby horse race. Their laughter echoed through the distant sound of bombs and bullets. More than just a pastime, it was a way for them to keep their spirits up amid the storm. A year later, Dalzell was awarded the Order of the British Empire for extraordinary bravery. In this haunting photograph, the crew of a B-17E Flying Fortress named Jerry Jinks stride off the runway at RAF, Molesworth, England, in 1942. They are the youthful faces of 427 Bomber Squadron, filled with courage and a fierce belief in their mission. But just over a month later, in January 1943, the plane was shot down by the Luftwaffe over France. All but Bernard Jurazek, the sole survivor of the doomed crew, died in the fierce battle. On 26 October 1936, amid loud cheers and fluttering flags, the motorcade carrying Italian colonial minister Alessandro Lassona and Goboli Gigli drove through the main street of Addis Ababa. A huge banner flew overhead proclaiming the Duce, the symbol of Mussolini's power. On both sides of the road, Italian soldiers saluted, while the locals looked on in silence. The photograph captured the moment when the Italian Empire believed it had completely subdued this proud African land. In 1937, in the suffocating atmosphere of Europe before the storm of war, Adolf Hitler and Benito Mussolini walked side by side, inspecting long lines of SS soldiers in cold black uniforms. Hundreds of shining bayonets reflected the gloomy light of a dark age. The two dictators walked with confidence and arrogance, believing that their power was invincible. This moment recorded the historical moment when the specter of World War was gradually rising. On October 19, 1935, in the middle of the arid Ogaden region, Abyssinian soldiers risked their lives by jumping into a ditch to avoid the bombs and bullets from Italian planes flying overhead. Dust flew everywhere. The roar of the engines drowned out the commander's shouts. They only had old rifles and courage to fight against the destructive mechanical power. The photo captured the moment of life and death, where courage and despair mingled with the smoke of war. In the middle of a vast field, a Russian officer bowed respectfully to Prince Cannon in a solemn scene. Beside him stood his loyal warhorse, motionless, like a silent witness to history. On the prince's face shone the calm and majesty of a man who had experienced 2 great wars. He was not only a general, but also a symbol of honor and loyalty, an image that made that moment immortal in the flow of history. In order to demoralize the Chinese defenders, Japanese military officials reportedly ordered the execution of all captured prisoners. The war in the Orient was now a merciless war. Here are some of the Chinese prisoners patiently awaiting death at the execution ground, where they would be captured by the Japanese. On the banks of the cold Qinhuai River in 1937, a scene of mourning stretched to the horizon. Wooden boats lay motionless in the mud, surrounded by countless motionless bodies, painful evidence of the Nanjing tragedy. A Japanese soldier stood silently watching, in a space heavy enough to suffocate. The river water flowed slowly, carrying the echoes of the wronged souls. That photo, more than any narrative, was the most tragic denunciation of the darkness of war. In December 1937, in the devastated streets of Nanjing, a Chinese soldier was captured and surrounded by Japanese soldiers. His eyes were calm, but filled with silent despair, while rough hands gripped his shoulders, escorting him toward his fate. On his sleeve, a white dusty bandage was a testament to his defeat. The scene, seemingly normal in the midst of war, carried the suffocating weight of a life about to be swallowed by history. In December 1937, when Nanjing fell to the Japanese army, a series of horrific tragedies took place. In the photo, the Chinese prisoner kneels in the middle of an open field, his eyes strangely calm as he faces his fate. Behind him, the Japanese soldiers stand still, while the sword-wielding man maintains a cold posture, ready to strike. The scene not only depicts war, but also exposes the fragile boundary between humans and their own darkness. In the harsh sunlight of 1937, a chilling scene unfolded outside Nanjing. In a deep pit, Chinese prisoners were forced to become target trainers for Japanese soldiers. All around, a long line of onlookers stood in heavy silence. Only the shouts of orders and the sound of steel hitting the ground could be heard. The scene did not merely record a military exercise, but also a moment of suffocating humanity, a heartbreaking testament to an unforgettable war crime. Omaha Beach, June 6, 1944. Hell broke loose in the misty dawn. Cold waves crashed onto the sand as American soldiers rushed from landing craft, enemy bullets tearing through the air like steel rain. Tanks crawled through smoke and fire. Artillery exploded. The American flag fluttered amid the thick smoke. Every step forward was a gamble of life and death, but they pressed on, not for glory, but for freedom, for the world that was sinking into darkness. In 1937, after the fall of Nanking, Japanese troops poured into the city with thousands of rising sun flags fluttering in the dust of war. They shouted victory slogans, marching proudly through the ruined, smoky streets. Behind the seemingly jubilant scene, horror was looming. A dark chapter in human history was about to be written in blood, tears, and desperate screams. Amidst the howling wind and the echoes of the battlefield, a Navy officer sat in a small field tent. listening attentively to the crackling sound coming from an old gramophone. The old melody echoed amidst the smell of cigarette smoke and dust, making him whistle softly, as if to hold on to a bit of peace in the midst of chaos. 2 U.S. infantrymen stood on either side, quietly observing. In that brief moment, the war seemed to have temporarily receded. In 1923, under the windy sky of Malta, the warship HMS Centurion stood tall on the water, bearing the majestic appearance of a legend that had fought in the bloody Battle of Jutland. The ship, covered in faded paint and traces of time, still stood tall in the harbor, as a witness to 2 great wars that shaped human history. The sound of waves gently lapping against the ship's side, combined with the distant sound of the horn, evoking the tragic sound of an era of steel and blood. Amidst the murky waters of a Pacific jungle river, a U.S. Marine marched silently. On his shoulder, his wet rifle was carefully kept out of the water, a symbol of his unyielding will. His eyes were filled with a mixture of fatigue and determination, reflecting the days of fierce fighting in the tropical hell. Under the scorching sun and the chirping of cicadas, he still marched, for his homeland, for his comrades, and for survival. On August 6, 1945, Hiroshima was engulfed in a blinding flash of lightning, the opening moment of hell on Earth. The first atomic bomb in human history exploded, flattening the entire city in an instant. More than 140,000 lives were lost. Houses and streets were reduced to ashes. In that desolate scene, a man stood silently among the rubble, looking back at his former homeland. 3 days later, Nagasaki suffered the same fate, and the World War entered its bloody end. In 1956, after more than a decade of captivity in the Soviet Union, the German soldier returned home, haggard, with the years of war etched on his face. Before his eyes was his 12-year-old daughter, the child he had left behind when she was just 1 year old. The moment when father and son embraced each other in the crowd, tears mixed with choked breaths, was a symbol of pain, loss, and the desire for reunion after the war. Helmut Pirath's lens captured that humane moment. In the midst of the fierce battlefield in 1942, the Soviet soldier in this famous photo jumped out of the bunker, raised his gun high, and shouted the attack command as his commander fell. At that moment, his eyes were blazing, symbolizing the courage and indomitable spirit of the Red Army in the life-and-death battle with Nazi Germany. The photo not only captured the heroic act, but also deeply engraved the spirit of sacrifice of a generation fighting for freedom and the fatherland. In the midst of the fierce battle at the Battle of Peleliu, which lasted from September to November 1944, the U.S. Marines took a rare break after clearing the battlefield. They sat on the hot ground, their backs covered in sweat, quietly lighting cigarettes to dispel their fatigue. The image not only depicts resilience but also shows the human moment in the midst of the brutal storm of war. In a rare photograph taken at Buchenwald concentration camp, Claire Booth Luce, a famous American politician and diplomat, is seen visiting the prison hospital. Here, she directly talked to Nazi prisoners suffering from tuberculosis, who were part of the cruel death machine. In the gloomy scene, the dialogue was not only humane, but also a testament to the confrontation with the terrible crimes of the fascist regime. On April 12, 1945, in the Merkers salt mine in Germany, General Dwight D. Eisenhower, Supreme Allied Commander, and General Omar N. Bradley, commander of the 12th Army Group, carefully examined a suitcase filled with precious silver. This was part of the huge booty hidden by the Nazis. That moment clearly reflected the brutality of war and the secrets that the Allies gradually discovered. As Germany conquered new territory in Eastern Europe, it created special paramilitary units called Einsatzgruppen, which murdered Jews and dissidents, often in mass shootings. Jews and other victims in Germany and the countries under its control were rounded up and sent to concentration camps, labor camps, and death camps. The massacre was carried out without exception for children or infants. At Auschwitz, the Germans also conducted medical experiments on living human beings, such as placing prisoners in pressure chambers, testing them on various drugs, freezing them to death, and performing other extreme torture on prisoners. The genocide of 6 million German Jews is known as the Holocaust, or Shoah. Pictured are Hungarian Jews being held in a gas chamber at the Auschwitz concentration camp in 1944. On January 9, 1939, Germany invaded Poland, causing Britain and France to declare war on Germany. Most opinions believe that this was the moment World War II officially began. On September 17th, the Soviet Union entered Poland. By June 10th, Poland was completely occupied by Germany, the Soviet Union, and their allies. In 1940, Germany took control of Denmark and attacked France, forcing it to surrender and allowing Germany to seize much of its territory. Pictured here is a German Bf-110 fighter jet flying over the border of Poland during World War II. In December 1944, the skies over Austria shook under the roar of American B-24 Liberators. Under their wings, the railway network, the transport lifeline of Nazi Germany, was engulfed in smoke. Bomb after bomb fell, cutting off supply lines and paralyzing the enemy's logistics system. From thousands of meters above, American pilots saw flames rising from train stations, factories, and warehouses, a symbol of the devastating turn of the war in the skies over Europe. This disturbing photograph captures the moment after World War II, when a French woman had her head shaved in public as punishment for allegedly collaborating or having relations with occupying German soldiers. Her face is blank, her eyes blank with shame and hatred, while those around her look on indifferently. The images reveal a dark chapter where honor and revenge collided with post-war rage. Around September 18, 1944, in the newly liberated Belgian town of Aalst, a soldier of the Irish Guards smiled as he accepted a cigar from a local resident. In the jubilant atmosphere after long days of occupation, the small gift became a symbol of gratitude and joy of reunion. This simple yet emotional image depicts the warm military-civilian relationship amid the flames of World War II. On January 29, 1945, in Binalonan, Pangasinan, Luzon, American soldiers, in conjunction with Filipino resistance forces, inspected the scene after a fierce battle. Before them were 2 Japanese Hago light tanks that had been shot down, lying motionless in the dust of the battlefield. Inside, the Japanese crew members had died, leaving a clear evidence of the Japanese Army's defeat in the campaign to liberate the Philippines. Amidst the bustle of a United Service Organization, USO, event circa 1943, a woman in a bikini gracefully walks among the ranks of smiling and amused American servicemen. Performances and entertainment like this were organized by the USO to ease the war fatigues, bringing joy and optimism to American soldiers serving in World War II. The photograph captures a horrific moment in history. Under the shadow of the Nazi helmets and expressionless faces, a group of women are dragged into the middle of the street, bewildered, naked, and without any choice. The silent sound of helpless hands, the fateful gaze forward, all serve as a warning that humanity can lose its dignity and freedom in a single moment. This historic photograph captures a haunting moment during the war in China. Amidst the devastation, innocent civilians face severe punishment at the hands of the occupying forces. Behind the lens is the pain of a nation, a reminder of the terrible consequences of war and violence. The photo not only records the past, but also reminds humanity of the value of peace and humanity. U.S. Marines carry a near-dead baby, pulled from under a rock in a cave on Saipan in the summer of 1944. The baby was the only survivor among hundreds of corpses in the cave. Saipan, part of the Mariana Islands, had been a Japanese colony since World War I. By the end of 1943, it was home to more than 29,000 Japanese. In June-July 1944, the U.S. landed on Saipan, defeated the Japanese army, and controlled the island until now. 3 young women, Janice Cooper, Marilyn Connor, and Gloria Ellickson, attracted all eyes while sunbathing at Steeplechase Park on Coney Island, New York, in the 1940s. What was special was that they wore unique swimsuits made from World War II Air Force escape maps, a meaningful gift from their pilot boyfriends. The image was both sexy, daring, and full of wartime imprints of a turbulent period. Amidst the sound of drills and metal collisions, these women were not only assembling planes, they were building hope for the world. When men went to war, they became silent warriors in factories. Their soft hands now held tools tightly, their steadfast eyes turned to the bomb-filled sky. War had robbed them of their youth, but it had also turned them into indomitable symbols of strength and courage. Nurses, air raid prevention workers, and rescue workers tend to injured hospital patients, waiting on stretchers to be taken to nearby hospitals after an air raid by a Nazi German Vergeltungswaffe Fiesler Fi-103 V1 Doodlebug bomber that hit Lewisham Hospital on the 26th of July, 1944, in London, England. In March 1945, in the midst of the fierce Battle of Iwo Jima, a Boeing B-29 heavy bomber was forced to make an emergency landing on a runway filled with smoke and flames. Immediately after touching down, the giant plane burst into flames, turning into a fireball in the middle of the battlefield. The image was both tragic and heroic, reflecting the extreme harshness of war and the sacrifices that air crews had to face in each mission. The introduction of the American gas mask in combat. To protect troops from chemical attacks, the United States issued gas masks widely. Training ensured that soldiers could quickly put on masks when attacked. This protective device saved many lives in the mustard gas environment. Masks became an essential part of combat gear. Their use marked a new era in chemical warfare defense. For much of the war, the Germans had absolute air dominance. The mighty and fearsome Luftwaffe, commanded by Hermann Göring, was the largest and most powerful air force in World War II. They had devastated London during the Battle of Britain. Here, however, the British got at least a small measure of revenge, bombing German-held Abbeville airfield in France. May 1945. Members of the Danish resistance movement escort 2 women arrested for their relations with the Nazis during the war. The brutal scene at Iwo Jima, March 1945. 4 U.S. Marines huddle down a charred hillside as a Japanese bunker explodes, billowing smoke engulfing the sky. The ground is bare, the trees are burned to the bone, depicting the naked brutality of war. The photo was praised by Life as one of the most horrifying and realistic images, capturing the moment when a small human being faced with the enormous destruction of the Iwo Jima battlefield. In May 1941, on the rocky roads of Crete, German paratroopers marched silently through a scene of devastation. The bodies of British soldiers lay scattered on both sides. a testament to the fierce battle that had just taken place. The harsh sunlight shone on the tired but determined figures, a tragic moment that revealed the cruelty of war and the resilience of those who never gave up. In May 1945, during the brutal Battle of Okinawa, U.S. Marines advanced through a devastated village, reduced to rubble and devastation by bombs and shells. Amid the devastation, the lifeless body of a Japanese soldier lay on the ground, a tragic symbol of sacrifice and despair. The image reflected not only the brutality of the battle, but also the brutal price borne by both sides in World War II. World War II. Men, women, and children rummage through the rubble of German bombing raids in London. July 28, 1941. German air raids killed more than 40,000 British civilians during World War II, with Londoners accounting for nearly half the total. German attacks on British cities, using conventional aircraft as well as V-1 and V-2 rockets, continued until March 1945. By then, the war's outcome was long decided, and Allied troops were massing on Berlin. In 1943, the Allies began a bombing campaign against rail and oil targets in Bucharest, part of a broader bombing policy aimed at crippling Germany's transportation system. Bucharest was considered the #1 oil target in Europe. Picture taken on August 1, 1943. When the war broke out, the I-16 was the Soviet Union's main fighter. It was the first high-speed monoplane with retractable landing gear. Firefighters use a water hose to extinguish flames and damage on the flight deck of HMS Formidable, an illustrious-class aircraft carrier of the Royal Navy, following a kamikaze air attack by an Imperial Japanese Navy Mitsubishi A6M0 during the Battle of Okinawa on the 4th of May, 1945, off the Sakishima Islands, Okinawa, Japan. In the mist-shrouded Sutjeska Valley, exhausted Yugoslav partisans bravely retreat through the treacherous terrain. They carry their wounded, their weapons, and their fragile hope amid the hell of war. The photo seems to freeze a life-and-death moment where courage and despair blend, a testament to the indomitable power of humanity in the face of brutality and destruction. In the skies above Athens in 1941, German Luftwaffe Dornier Do-17Zs soar over the immortal symbol of Greece, the Acropolis. In that moment, both majestic and somber, history and war collide. Ancient beauty meets the storm of modern steel. This photograph captures more than just a flight, but a breathtaking moment when human civilization stands before the darkness of war. In the early 1940s at Fort Bragg, amid the build-up to war, young soldiers found joy in everyday moments. They laughed, shared stories, and temporarily forgot the darkness that was spreading across the world. Warm lights and laughter echoed in the small room, all as a reminder that, even in the darkest of times, people still maintained hope and love for life. Around 1940, in the gloomy forests of Yugoslavia, a Gestapo agent coldly observed a tragic scene. The resistance fighters were tied up, standing between life and death. The atmosphere was heavy. The wind whistled through the trees like a lament for innocent lives. The photo became a haunting reminder, reminding humanity never to forget the price of freedom and courage in wartime. In April 1942, after the daring Doolittle raid, Lieutenant Colonel James Doolittle appeared with his crew alongside Chinese officials in a significant historical moment. The photo taken in China shows Zhao Fuqi, party secretary of the West Zhejiang provincial government, standing on the right. This is a testament to the close cooperation between the Allies and the Chinese resistance forces in the war against Japan. Although the war is long gone, its echoes still reverberate in every photo, every story, every scar of humanity. Each like, each subscription of yours is not only a show of support, but also a reminder that we will preserve that memory, so that the painful past will never be repeated.